different applications. So there what you need, right? Suppose you have an application where you have a student DB or student data, right? And this is application A what is running here, and there is one another application B which is running some other places, right, in some other environment or something, right? And you need to transfer the data from here to there. There are various ways through which you can do. There is a DB and all these things, right? But most of the time, if you see in telecom domain, telecom applications or secure applications, right? Whether where they have their own channel where they can provide the data. So there they can't trust in the third party softwares or MySQL database or something, right? So what do they do, right? They store the object, the Java objects, right? They store that, and that data they transmit over the channel, and there they again deserialize it. It's called serialization and deserialization. And then they serialize on the other side, and there they can get that. I'll just give you the example so that it will be easy to understand. So the topic name is serialization in Java. How do we serialize that? Okay, so so first thing I'll tell you, all the Java objects what you create in Java programming, right? Those are all in transient state. I mean, it can't be saved. If you write a Java object, so I'll okay. So first thing, what I'm trying to say is, by default, Java's objects are stored in memory, and what happens, right, when you write a program and you run it, the instantiation what happens, right? It's temporary. I mean, once your application shutdowns, all the data in the objects it gets down, right? So suppose you have a class employee. Address and okay. So we have three fields: name, address, salary. Okay, and create the getter setters. Make it private, not public. Okay, and I'll just create the constructor as well. So constructors. Okay, so we have an employee class, and what actually I want to do is, right, suppose I got few objects. I have created few objects, and I want to store it for future running as well, or I want to send that data over the network to some other application. Okay, so first what I'll do is I'll create the employee object. So employee E1 equals to new employee, and put name, address, then salary maybe 10,000. Okay, and employee E2 equals to new employee. Okay, so let it be 12,000. Then employee E3. Okay, so salary let it be 15,000. Okay, now we have three employee here, right? And if we want to print, well, just one thing I'll also do. I'll do the toString method. I'll tell you what actually this to method is. Just a second. You can in fact write it yourself by toString. Actually, what is this toString, right? If I don't write, this one, right? And if I say okay, E1, okay, if I print E1, what do you think it will print? It will print the object something like serialization dot employee at the rate 695 something, right? But what I wanted to do, that I want to print this value what it is containing. Okay, so what actually happens is every class in Java is inherited by object class. Okay, there is a class name as object. I wanted to cover this also. So this class object, if you see obj, this class is the super class of every class in Java. So this is a master, I would say, the superior of all the classes. Whatever class you write in Java, by default it will automatically extend this class. So this will be your super class. And if you see, it has a method as hash code, it has a method as equals, it has a method as object clone, it has a method as toString. Now see here, the toString method actually returns the class name, whatever the class name is, then at the rate integer dot hash code. So it is doing some hash code and it is printing, and that's what it is printing here. Okay, so employee at the rate hash code, it is printing. So by default, suppose if you are printing only the object, so E1 it is the object, right? By default it calls that method, toString method. Okay, and it prints in this format. But suppose I want to print that, okay, if I print E1, it should print this employee Bangalore and this one, right? I want to that to get printed. What I will do is, by default, see, if I've written a class this, so by default if you don't do anything, then also this is something like the correct one is something like this. So this is hidden. Okay, so even if you don't use this extend object, it's by default it's already there. Okay, so what I will do is, whatever the method, this toString, it is there, right? I can simply write it here. So public toString. Okay, now this is what actually I'm doing. I'm overriding this, so I'll write overriding. So overriding I'm doing, and I'll create the object representation. Okay, so I'll write like something like a string object equal to, what do you want to give? You want to give something like name, then you want to give address, and then you want to print salary. Okay, so whatever you give here, and then you need to return this, return object. Okay, so now whenever you print the object, what is happening here? Sorry, yeah. So return type is string. So whenever you call this object, right, whenever you print this one, right, e1, by default it will call the toString method. So dot toString. So even if you call this toString, or even if you don't call, right, simply you do like this, it will now print in that format: name, Diwakar, address, Bangalore, this one, right? So now what is happening, right? It is not calling this one. It's not calling this one. What we did is we overridden that method. We have written in our own, and now instead of calling that method, it is calling the this method, and it has overridden the feature of that, and it is the same representation. Or if you want to write something like employee details. Okay, so now if you print something like that, right, it will come employee details, this one. Okay, so similarly you can print other object also. Now you don't have to every time fetch the value of that. So as you can see here, right, it keeps on getting the value of those things, right? So it becomes quite handy to use whenever you want to print the objects. Is it fine understood, right? What is the uses of this toString?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the main intention of writing this class is to persist the value of that. So what I'm trying to say is, right, see, right now I have given as a Divakar and Sweta and Pratik, right, and if I run it, all the data gets printed here. Okay, E3. And if I want to change someone's name to capital, right, that also I can do it. So I can do something like e1 dot get name dot to uppercase. So I can do that, and I'll okay, this will not change here because okay, so now it will change the name. So it has become in capital, right, to uppercase. I made it. So this is fine, and once I run it, I'm seeing that okay, these data are there. But just now if I change it to some other name, suppose Amika, I'll change it, and if I do this, Diwakar is gone, right? I cannot get the value until we persist is. Okay, same way if I write agency, right? So that name is gone, right? So no more we can get this Sweta name or Divakar, or even if I change Pratik or any data, right? So what does this mean? It means, right, whenever you create an object, right, and see, when you run the project, once you run the Java program, right, what actually Java does is it has their own memory. Okay, and in that memory it will create e1, it will create e2, it will create e3. Okay, it will do all the work in the memory, right? So the JVM is running. Okay, and the Java virtual machine is handling all these things. Once you shut down, once your application ends, all these get flushed out. Okay, nothing is there. Once again you come run this, right, again it will hold the same next data, right? So what actually happening here is, uh, suppose I want to maintain a list of employees. Okay, and I want to have a list of employee. One second, I think. Okay, so what actually? Okay, so what actually I'm doing is we have a list of employees, okay, and I want user to provide the names. So we'll write something like enter the number of employees to store. Okay, I'm asking user to give how many employee they want to create store. Okay, and I'll just loop on this. So it should start with 0 and less than equals to whatever the employee number they are giving, I plus plus. And what I will do is here will ask whether enter the name. So name equals to, so string name we have entered, and then what we'll have address. Okay, so we have got all these value, right? Whatever we are asking, right? Now what we will do is we will create the employee object. Okay, e equals to new employee, and we'll provide these name comma address and then salary. So we have created this, and then we'll put into the employee dot add, and we'll add into this list. Okay, that's it. So if you want to print it later, we can do that. And so displaying all, so for each I'll apply, so employee, and then we have employee list. So employee list, and here we can print it. Okay, simply E. Okay, so I hope you understood, right, what actually I'm trying to do here. So I'm saying, okay, enter the number of employees, so I'll say 2. Okay, then I'll ask for name, so I'll enter address. Okay, salary 10,000 or 1,000, and then suppose I'll put Mika, then address somewhere, let it be US or something like that, right? And then I'm saying, okay, displaying all the employees and employee details, and this one is right. Now once this application this application terminated, right, because after that there is no statement, and it will stop, the application will stop, right? So if I again want to get these value, I won't be able to. Okay, these values are lost, what we stored in that, right? uh, so what I want is, I want that, okay, next time if I run, okay, I want to get all these values automatically to them, to my list. It should be get populated, and if I run this, it should run that values. So if I comment out these things, right, and then if I try to run it, I think it will return nothing, right? Because it is not getting stored. The objects are gone, nothing is there in the memory. Okay, but I want to store it. There has to be some way, right? So how to do that? So the thing is, how we can do is, there is a concept of serialization in Java through which you can store, you can persist the state of an object, whatever the state is, right? You can, it's like a snapshot. Whenever you want to persist, right? The suppose right time, currently you have put the name as something ABCD, and you want to store that, and later if you, even if you change, right, you can save that state at that particular of time. So it's like a snapshot storing, and I'll tell you how we can do that. So for doing this, you have to implement something called serializable. Okay, so this is called a marker interface. It's a kind of interface only. If you go there, it will have nothing at all. As I'm telling you, if you see, this is entirely empty, does nothing. So Java IO, and it has simply one interface as serializable, that's all. Now, so what is the significance of implementing this one? The significance of is, it's called a marker interface. Marker interface means it is just for telling Java that, okay, this class state can be persisted using some standard APIs, and how we can store that I'll show you just in a while. So what actually it tells you, that it simply just kind of enables you that you can store it. If you don't implement this one, you cannot store the state of the employee. So let's see what actually I want to do that. I mean, so we had created all this stuff, right? And now our employee object implements serializable. That means it is eligible for storing the state of object. Now how we can store this, right? Okay, so to store that, what actually we need to do that is, so we have created this employee object, and we want to store the object of this entirely as it is. Okay, so I'll just write like persisting the data. Okay, so persisting the data, and how we can do that, there what actually happens, right, internally is, it actually generates a file, and it stores these objects into the file, and obviously it will not be readable, you cannot read it. That way it provides you a security kind of thing also, that you cannot directly read it. And second thing is, it's very fast to read and write. It's a serialized, it's a special type of file. It's not generic ASCII character files, what you see and what you read in that, right? So there is a way through which you can do, and the class name what we use is, there is a file output stream and file input stream. To write the object, there is a class as object output stream. Okay, so I'll just show you how we can do that. So we'll write try catch block, because it might throw some exception if permission is not there, or if object state is okay. So we are done with this one now. So as I told you, right, you have to use one thing first, that it uses a file output stream. And actually what is the use of file output stream is, it generates a file. So in order to write into the file, we need a file output stream, and you need to create the object of file output stream, and you have to provide the file name. So I'll write C colon slash C colon slash let me create one folder. Okay, we have this right already, Java sessions, right? Okay, so I'll use this one only, C colon slash Java sessions. Okay, so we are using this folder, and we need to tell about the what kind of file we will be storing it. Okay, so generally the extension will be something like employee.ser. Okay, you can write txt, you can write anything. Generally we prefer two things, .dat, okay, or .ser. Okay, I prefer only ser because it tells that it's a serialized file. And once this file is there, you can send this over the network using the streaming of byte or something like that. So this line tells you that okay, you will be writing into this particular file, you will be persisting the object data or object state into this particular file, into this particular location. Now how to write? So there is a class object object output stream. Okay, out equals to new object output stream, and you have to provide this particular file out. Okay, you have to provide this particular pointer to that okay, I am going to write into this file. So what is the job of this object output stream is, it takes the input of that particular file, and it takes this input and it generates a kind of what I say some kind of data, jumbled data, and it does so formatting and all these things, so that while retrieving it can retrieve, and it writes into that particular file. So once you write this out, you can do something like out dot write object. So you do write object and you write this e into that. I think that's what you need to do. Then you can close this, you can close this file out as well. Okay, that's it. Okay, and you can tell that employee get name okay. So now what we are doing is we are telling that okay, it's done, and then we are adding into the list, right? So that means before adding to the list, I am persisting into that. Okay, so if I run it now, enter the number of employees, I'll add 2, I'll write ABC, I'll add XYZ, I'll write 10,000, and so it is, see, it's telling employee ABC is persisted successfully. Now again enter the name, so PQR, address MNO, and 1200. Okay, so yeah, so even employee PQR is persisted successfully and displaying all these employee right now. Okay, fine. So my application is terminated, right? So if I see this particular location, see Java sessions, sorry, it's a Java demo. So you will see that this employee.ser, the date is today 5th of October, right? And if I try to open this one, it will be in totally jumbled world, and but you can just little bit make out, you can do that. This employee, right, address field is there, but value you will not be able to see. The best part of this is you can see the field name, but yeah, even somewhere the PQR MNO something field name is there. It's totally jumbled one. Now serialization has been happened, right? And if I try to run this again, so I'll comment out this part, and if you think something magic will happen, it will print that. It will not, because it has been stored in this particular file, right? So we need to while showing it, we need to again deserialize this file. Deserialize means it will read that from that particular file and then show it, then the populate to this particular, and then do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll not use this particular class for that, and I'll write a new class that is called a deserialization. Amika, Jansi did not join. Any reason for that? Amika, can you hear me? Okay, no problem. Okay, so what actually I want to do is here is deserialize that particular state. So I want to just exactly I want to have this list of employees what I have persisted. Okay, I don't want to so my this list should be populated with that particular data. Okay, so how we can do that, right? So what we can do, so there is a okay, so we have to again do something like file input stream. So what we had used there, file output stream, right? Yeah, file output stream. So here we will be using file input stream fin equal to new file input stream, and we have to provide that path java sessions slash employee dot ser. Okay, so yeah, so obviously it will ask us to do all this stuff, try catch. Okay, once this is done, then we'll write object input stream instead of output this one, right? So this one will write in, okay, equal to new object input stream, and it will take sorry as the fin. So okay, so this exception will be done for this. So once you do this in, right, it will go and try to read this particular file, deserialized it, and then it will try to parse the value from that to as an employee object. So what we will do is we'll write employee e equal to in dot read object. Okay, and we have to cast that as a employee because it returns the object. So that's it. So if I print this one, so let's see how what it gives. Okay, so it gives you PQR address as MNO and salary as 1200, right? That's what we had given, but we are missing one more, right? So how to iterate over it? Okay, let me see. Do something like while in dot it's been a long time I have used this. So how to read the multiple string magic reset register violation to a string. Okay, so we have to read in different way, block by block or in byte. Okay, that would be a tedious work. Okay, I'll find out a way, because this would be a bit complex, I think, to read all the data, because here you have to provide all these buffer, offline, net. So then you have to convert this into objects input, and yeah. Okay, I'll tell you these things later. Okay, how we can read the multiple. Just focus on this thing. Maybe next session I'll definitely tell you about that. So what actually happens, right? So we can, as you see, right, the only one object we were able to retrieve it, but we can do, obviously we can do the multiple. And so what actually is happens, right? So whenever you have, like I told you, we have two applications running on different server at different places, right? And you need to transfer the data from one place to another place. And so what actually happens is here, so as you can see here, serialization you are doing here, the type of class what you are using is employee here. Okay, and it automatically saves into the file. The best part of this is, once it is saved in the file, you can transfer this data, transmit this data or the file to some other location, and there they can simply use this to typecast that object, and automatically it will get it. So if I read, simply if I do employee dot get name, it will print get name. Okay, so if I do print employee dot get salary, it will print you the salary. So this becomes a very, see, as you can see, right, this becomes very handy to use the data and the formality, uniformity. It actually maintains the uniformity across the applications, all the field values, all the data type, nothing goes changed, right? So it becomes a very a good thing to do. Now the question comes with this is, sometimes it might be vulnerable that, okay, someone intercept the program, or or try something bad to it and get the hold of the data. Now suppose there are few fields which you have here, and you don't want to persist it. Something like, I'll say credit card number. Okay, and if I say, okay, I have a credit card number, I'll put it as a string only. So I have a string credit card number, and I don't want to persist it. So I'll just make sure we have string cc. Okay, so we'll have this here as well. Get etc is done, and we'll write credit card number. Okay, so yeah, so now if I do it here, something like this, and if I say ask that, okay, enter your credit card number. Okay, so I'll pass this. Okay, so what actually happens here is, if I run this now, I'll just make it as a 1. Okay, so employee 1.ser, and now if I run this, serializations, right? Okay, yeah, so enter the number of employee I want to store. I'll just put it 1, and okay, let's put it this, let's put it this, let's put it this. Okay, cc number, suppose like something, generally it's a digit, it's okay. It's persisted, right? And this has been persisted here. And if I go to deserialization, and if I just change this file number to 1, and this is suppose third party application, there also I am seeing that, okay, I am able to retrieve the credit card number. Now my thing is, I don't want to make this as a public. I don't want to send across all the places. I don't want this to get persisted, but I do want to get all these things persisted. Okay, there has to be some way to do that, right? So Java does provide such kind of flexibility where you want to have some fields as a private field or non-persisted way you can do that. Okay, so what you can do is there is a keyword as transient. So if you put this transient here, what will happen? I won't do anything now. So if I run this transient here, okay, so if I run this now, I simply put it as transient, and now let me just run the serialization here first. I run serialization, I'll put it 1, I'll put xyz, I'll put address pqr 10,000 and ccs cc1234. Okay, and it's saying that employee details, name, this. Okay, it is printing here now. Now let's see, go to the deserialization and let's see whether we are able to get it or not. We are saying that credit card number is coming as a null. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that when we serialized it, this value was skipped. Why it is skipped? Because I have put a keyword as transient. I'm saying that Java, okay, do not persist this value while persisting to the file, persist only these values. Okay, so actually it makes a very, I would say, useful keyword what you can use it for, and it gives you a very very good flexibility, right? I mean, you can, if you want to store it, you can. If you don't want to store it, it's your wish, right? So yeah, this is actually this all about what I would say about serialization. I mostly used in, I would say, the where there are many applications communicating to each other, they are sending the data across each other. So in those scenarios we generally use serialization, and you will see most of the places by default some classes enables serializations, and if you want to read it in more details, right, you can have. But the best part is you can persist you can keep the snapshot of your object state, and that makes a very good feature to have it, right? Okay, one more thing is there, I would say employee is there. And now suppose you have a class as a manager which extends employee. Now you'll see something like one second, sorry, it gives me one error, something like this: implicit super constructor employee default constructor makes, one second. So it tells me that add a serialization version ID. So actually it's something that this is my manager class is extending employee class, and employee is implementing this serialization. So as per the normal behavior, right, this manager, so data, suppose I have something like private, let it be public only, who will let so many things. Okay, okay, manager department. Okay, so I am telling that, okay, it should be the manager department, and okay, the thing is, we have to supply these fields to the upper classes, the inherited classes. Anyhow, this is not mandatory. So what actually happens is, if your employee class is implementing sterilizations, that means telling that, okay, this employee object can be persisted. Now if your manager class is also implementing this employee, right, by default the manager will also, the field of manager will also get persisted. So in order to do that, what you need to do is, whenever you create an object of manager, right, you have to send these across values to the upper level to persist it. Now as you can see here, string name, address, salary, cc, like all these details, right, it is super actually. What it does is it calls the super constructor, that is the upper constructor, that is it will call to the employee. It'll pass all these value and it will persist it there. So now if you create the object of manager also, by default the manager will also get persisted. Okay, so instead of employee, if you simply store the manager, if you try to get the manager as well, it will do that. It will persist the manager's data, this one manager department, as well as this. So this becomes a mandatory field for you, that whenever you create, whenever you extend that, right, you have to implement this particular constructor, whatever the constructor. If you have a default constructor, then it won't ask. So if you have something like public, okay, so this is our constructor, and in this case if I remove this one, then it should not give me any kind of error. It should not tell that okay you have to do something or that, right? Okay, so what actually happens is, so manager by default, now if you do the serialization here, instead of creating the all these, okay, I'll just comment it out. And what you can do is simply you can create a manager, mg equals to new manager, okay, and mg dot set mg dot manager type equal to, I'll say IT manager, okay, IT department manager, and rest of the things. So manager dot set address, you can put something, okay, so addr, and mg dot set credit card, again it will not be get persisted, as you know why, right, it should not get persisted. Then mg dot set name, mg name, and what is left, mg dot set salary. Okay, so yeah, this is done, and what I will do is copy this one. Okay, what we will do is persist this one, mg. Okay, so we have persisted this one. Now what is the problem here? Okay, so we have persisted this, and now if I run this here, it'll say the employee mg name with that is persisted. Let's go to the deserialization, and we'll say okay, type of manager it is, okay, and that's it. Let's run this now. Yeah, as you can see here, mg name and all these things are coming. Only problem is we are printing the manager, we are not printing this public to string here, and I'll just put name and this one. Okay, I just want to print this department so that you will understand that okay, this also got saved. Yeah. So return, what is the problem? So now if I call this serialization, so what is happening? Sorry. Manager e dot read persisted. Okay. So yeah, IT manager name, MG manager name. So these two fields, it is printing because I'm printing only these two fields. And as you can see here, even though I'm not implementing serializable here, by default, it gets the property of serialization just because I'm implementing employee class, which is in term implementing serializable. So the motto behind this showing is, even if your class is not implementing serialization, right? There are many classes which use the serialization, and if you implement that particular class or extend that particular class, which in turn implements serialization, your class automatically becomes serializable. Okay, so yeah, keep in mind that, keep in that mind. So these are the things which you can do with serialization. Any questions so far? Okay, so I'll be winding up session today early because I'm not feeling well. I'm just stuck in rain, so I got wet and not feeling well today. So I just wanted to cover one topic instead of not taking session at all. And apart from this, maybe tomorrow I'll start this hibernate. Anybody have heard about this name, hibernate? What exactly it is? Anybody know anything about it? Sweta, you know about?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, Pratik left. Okay, okay. So, hibernate is something. It's a framework. Okay, we had seen that. Okay, in JDBC we used to write SQL query to insert the data into the DB to get the data from the DB. All these things, right? We used to write the queries for that SQL queries. Now in Hibernate, after the Hibernate has come, right? You don't need to write any SQL query. Suppose you are a background, you are from a background where you haven't worked about on SQL, right? Then also you can write query just by calling the Java methods only. So the first benefit is that, and the happiest news is that you don't have to remember the SQL query what I have shown you. So you can totally forget that if you want. And if you want to hibernate is very vast. I am not going to cover more in details. I'll just give the heads up about that, how you can again the CRUD operations. I'll show you how you can select, insert, update, and all these things you can do. Now second important thing is your Java applications you're writing, and today you are using MySQL, and tomorrow there is some problem with MySQL and you need to change to some other DB, right? So if you use JDBC, what we have used in that you are saying, right? There are a few queries which is specific to some database. Okay, it's maybe MySQL or Postgres or HANA or any kind of databases, right? So the problem becomes, right, it becomes tightly coupled with your database and application. So whenever there is a tightly coupled something, right, it creates a problem. And suppose you need to change from MySQL to Oracle, you have to change the query, you have to optimize it again, you have to test it again, and it's a nightmare. So what actually Hibernate does is it gives a one level of abstractions where you don't have to write the SQL query, so you're not dependent on database. Second thing is that you can change the database on the fly because you're not writing any query. You simply need to change at one place in one file, that okay, now it's not Oracle, it's MySQL, or it's HANA, or it's something else, Postgres or MongoDB, whatever. Okay, you don't have to do all these code changes, SQL writing, and all this stuff. Once I show you, I think everybody likes that. I mean, it's very interesting and fascinating. It's very trendy. I mean, 99% companies these days are using the Hibernate, okay, for persisting that. Okay, it is called ORM, Object Relational and Mapping. I'll tell you what actually it is. So I think it will take 1 or 2 sessions to complete that, and after that I'll just take 1 or 2 sessions for Spring, and that is another web application. I will not take in very deep fashion, because it's again it's a very big course in itself. It takes around 1 or 2 months to 2 months to learn Spring only. So I'll just give you idea about what actually Spring is, how you can develop application, small application or something like that, just hello world kind of something. And yeah, that's all. 1 or 2 one session I'll keep it for if you have any questions or something. So maybe 4 or 5 sessions are left. So any doubt or anything, if you guys have, just let me know so that we can clear in the sessions only. Okay, fine then. Is it okay, right? So tomorrow I'll start JDBC, because I have to prepare some examples also, because it's a configuration things are right. It's not easy, so I have to configure beforehand so that I don't waste time during session time. Okay. Okay. Fine then. See you tomorrow.